On this episode, Andy and John discuss the WCW 1997 pay-per-view, Halloween Havoc. Welcome to the road home from wrestling.
All right, folks, welcome back to the road home from wrestling. My name's Andy. I'm coming to you live to tape from the Road Home from Wrestling World Headquarters of the Spooky World. And I got John with me today. What's up, John?
Andy, I just had to change my underwear because I was so scared by this episode of Halloween Havoc.
It's June. It's summer. I mean, so we should review a Halloween show, right?
Oh, exactly. Like, there's nothing else that sounds more accurate for the time right now than it is like 85 degrees outside, and people are wearing shorts and masks, and so yeah, it seems appropriate that we should be doing a Halloween episode.
Well, I think that you have Christmas in July. She might as well have Halloween in June. That makes perfect sense to me, So, what happened is that you and I, we've been trying to figure out stuff to do for the podcast, and hopefully this is kind of the last podcast that we record this way. However, you never know. And we were just looking for stuff to review. So you picked a pay-per-view, and we did that one, and that was Backlash 2001.
Yes.
And so I picked one, and it's WCW Halloween Havoc. Excuse me, Slim Jim's WCW Halloween Havoc. My bad.
Yeah,
my bad.
Get that right. It is a Slim Jim pay-per-view. It is not a WCW show.
Yeah, well, Slim Jim paid Macho's salary, so it's fine, And this show takes place on October 26, 1997, in MGM Grand at Las Vegas. There are 12,457 fans in attendance, John. And John, before we get anywhere, before we do anything, I know that you're a fan of stages. You're a fan of these different setups for different pay-per-views, and a lot of people say that this stage setup is the best one of all time. What say you?
I don't know if I would say it's the best of all time. I feel like that honor kind of goes to the WrestleMania that was in Miami. I think it was WrestleMania 34, where it was the roller coaster setup that they had. That was pretty badass. But this one, for just an annual pay-per-view, I would agree. Yes, it's probably one of the best annual pay-per-view stages. I mean, they got a giant skull, and they got tombstones, and there's piles of dirt, and there weren't any pumpkins that I saw, but there should have been, and it was very scary. I was waiting for an arm to pop out of one of the graves, but it didn't happen. I'm sure it had to have happened at one point on a Halloween Havoc, right?
Sure, yeah, just like at WrestleMania this year, so this show is right smack dab in the middle of kind of the beginning, of the NWO thing. I mean, I guess at this point, NWO is established. It's been around for 6 months or so, and it's one of the hottest things in wrestling. John, what were your thoughts in 1997 of the NWO, or did you even know anything about it?
So that was the beginning stages of me watching wrestling. So we were a family, a household that flipped in between WCW, Monday Nitro and Monday Night Raw. But for me, Monday Night Raw was always the show I would rather watch, and luckily it was on later, because WCW was on it was 8 to 10, and then Raw was 9 to 11, I think.
It actually changed over time. Originally, Nitro was 1 hour, then it was 2 hours, and eventually it was 3 hours. In fact, it is Eric Bischoff and WCW that we have to thank for the 3-hour Raw that we have today, because that set the standard, and Raw went to 3 hours to compete with Nitro, and here we are.
You know what I think to that idea? Hey, fuck you, Eric Bischoff. We don't need 3 hours of wrestling on one night.
There's a lot of people that feel that way, John. A lot of people.
Unless it's a pay-per-view. A pay-per-view, sure. A weekly show, no. But I knew what the NWO was. I had NWO shirts. I was all about the for life.
Yeah.
But then they started just adding everyone on the entire WCW roster to it. And then they made the Wolfpack, and I'm like, oh my God, there's too much going on.
John, don't turn your back on the Wolfpack.
Yo, the Wolfpack was significantly better than the the white and black NWO.
Yeah,
I'm just
with
gonna
you.
say it. Like their theme song was much better. Like I think it's because I got super tired of their theme song on this pay-per-view that I now like, hey, the Wolfpack is significantly better.
Right.
But the Wolfpack also didn't have like as many members, I don't think. I don't know.
But it didn't have X-Pac or Six, so that's good,
Yeah, like you don't have him in it, and I'm like, all right, this is great. But yeah, the NWO I thought it was super cool at first, and then it just kind of like took over the entire company, and then I don't know. It's like when the McMahons run the authority angle, and they just like run rampant on everything. That's what
Yeah.
NWO was for
So the NWO not only did it take over WCW, it also took over New Japan Pro Wrestling as well. And this is kind of the beginnings of the faction system in New Japan Pro Wrestling and WCW. So at this point, there's basically three factions, okay? There is the Dungeon of Doom, which is still around here, all right? We have the NWO, and then we have the Four Horsemen, and then we have everyone else. And so an interesting thing about this show is that, once the NWO came around, they were the top heels. And so they turned everybody else heel, basically, or everybody else face. So, like, we have a face Ric Flair on this show, and this is a goofy show because, half of the heels from WCW have turned face because they're, against NWO. So, it's an interesting thing like that. Now, real quick, just a little bit of history about the NWO and how awesome of a storyline this was when it first started. If you look back in the annals of time of pro wrestling, you'll find that there has been a fight from the very beginning between the North and the South, all right? A civil war, if you will. And the NWO storyline was such a neat storyline because you had these two guys, the outsiders, you had Kevin Nash and Scott Hall coming in as possibly working for WWE. They were possibly like, undercover agents. And so, the problem with this when the cool story part stopped, because obviously they add Hulk Hogan, he becomes a third man, and how perfect is that? Of course it's Hulk Hogan. They had no idea, and everyone's like, of course it's Hogan because these are WWF guys, So it was such a great storyline until they added Eric Bischoff because he's not a WWF guy. That doesn't make any fucking sense. And then the story's broken, and then they just keep adding people, and it's a joke. I mean, Ted DiBiase was in there originally as well. So, there was a lot of guys that were in there at first that made this a really neat story with all kinds of deep layers that go way back in the history of wrestling. Did you know about all that, John?
I did know about the territory thing and how, Vince was running like the North and WCW was running like the South. Ted Turner was. And I knew about the whole Scott Hall, Kevin Nash thing. Wasn't IRS, or was it IRS or was it Rick Rude that appeared on both WCW and WWF on the same night?
Rick Rude actually appeared, I think, on all three shows on the same night. He was on ECW as well. I think all on the same night, and Lex Luger did that as well, I believe. So I think Luger's the one you're thinking of, but yeah, there was some shit like that going on, and the other thing I failed to mention is that Vince McMahon wanted to buy these Southern territories, and they said no. So that's kind of, and it even goes back before that. There's a lot of issues between the Northern and Southern, wrestling guys. And so, if you look, there's a really cool book called, it's called Death in the Squared Circle. It's by David something or other, bald guy. He's awesome. And Dave Shoemaker. It's a really great book that details a lot of this, and it's all about dead wrestlers. So it's a little bit downer, but the whole beginning part's awesome. But John, I just wanted to kind of lay that groundwork before we start to get into this. What are your thoughts?
Well, yes, real quick. So aren't the territories are still kind of technically intact, so to speak, because there's still like certain venues that won't work with other companies because of like the long-lasting relationship with WWF or WWE. Like I know
Correct.
Madison Square Garden is one of those where they're like, we're not going to run a New Japan show because WWE. Same with I think like US Bank Arena or like whatever New Life Bank, whatever, the US Bank Arena downtown. Like I think AEW wanted to run a show there, and they were like,
Right.
no, we have a long relationship with WWE. We can't do that.
So, the way the territories work now, I would say the territories are back. I think that they left for a while and now they're back, but they're back in a different way. You could look at it two different ways. You could say that they're worldwide, and that like Japan is a territory and they have their own little groups within the territory. And then, Britain, or England is one. You could say it that way, or you could think about the independents as territories as well, because we hear a lot about issues between certain independent companies that don't like each other. That happens all the time, and
Right.
it's kind of dumb, but it's just the way it is, and I get it. And so a lot of the people who have been around since this territory time really feel like that they have to be that way. And wrestling doesn't have to be that way, but I understand why. The whole idea is that why should I pay to see a wrestler at your place when I could just see him at another place for less money? That's kind of the problem that you run into with this kind of stuff, and why people get pissy about that stuff. So anyway, all right. So this show is set up as basically, it's not a blow off, but maybe it is. We're not sure. Roddy Piper came into the WCW to take on the NWO. Now, he says he's not with anybody. He says he's only with himself, but he represents WCW. And so that's what this show was kind of all about, but all this fucking awesome stuff happens that has nothing to do with that. And in fact, most of the main storyline shit that happens tonight is kind of garbage. John, do you have anything that you want to talk about before we start getting into this shit?
I don't think so. I mean, I was a little when we originally like talked about like divvying out the matches. You're like, hey, do you want odd or even? Because you wanted to give me a specific match, and like when you said there was 9 matches, I was like, holy crap, man, that is a lot of matches for one pay-per-view. And like, I worried about the time balance that we had back at Backlash and how there was just such an unevenness, but I feel like they were pretty good about it on this show of like divvying up the time accurately.
We'll get into it. I'm not sure if I have any notes about time issues. Probably not, because they give the undercard like a lot of time. This is a great show when it comes to that. So, well, our show opens up with a video package laying out the main event cage match. It's Piper versus Hogan. And John, I decided to look up the history of these two guys as far as like their record facing each other. Who do you think has won more times?
I'm going to say Hogan because I feel like he's the John Cena of his era.
He has. Do you think, how many times do you think that Piper pinned Hogan?
Pinned him?
Mm-hmm.
0.
Correct. Yeah, I think it might have happened one time on a house show. But if you look at their list of matches, it's count out, DQ, double DQ, count out, double count out.
Yeah.
Like that's every single result, because these guys have a long history of not wanting a job, especially to each other, and that really shows up a lot. And if you were a smart fan back then, you knew that. And so this was kind of a dumb feud if you were a smart fan back at that time. So
yeah,
that's really.
And we'll get into it with the main event, but like I was very confused by the main event.
It's stupid, yes. And this is LOL WCW. We're gonna get a lot of like hashtag LOL WCW stuff in this in the show, but not a whole lot. It's when that, after this show and into the like, especially 99 and 2000, that's when this really gets wacky, and the whole show is that kind of bullshit. And you don't know what's going on, and it's just stupid. But we're not there yet. We're still at good WCW. So, the feud between these two, it's Hogan and Piper. Hogan representing the NWO, and Piper, who says he only represents himself, but he's the spiritual leader of the WCW. And we're deep into the faction system here. We see Bobby Heenan, Dusty Rhodes, and Tony Schiavone, and Bobby Heenan gets a weasel chant from the crowd. They love him. It's awesome. And that's all they'll be talking about tonight is the main event. They talk about the main event a little bit, and that's all they want to talk about. I mean, even when amazing matches are going on, they don't give a shit. That's all they want to talk about at all. And Dusty puts over the importance of someone stopping the NWO. Somebody's got to stop them, you know?
Yeah, they're taking over.
So our ring announcer for the evening, except for the main event, is Dave Penzer. All right, y'all, what was the first match of the evening?
The first match was, I hope I pronounced this right because I am great at names, Yugi Nagata with Sonny Ono versus Ultimo Dragon.
It's Yuji Nagata. You're pretty close. You know, I don't know where you got a hard G sound from a J, but whatever.
I've been taking a lot of German lessons. You know, he's very clearly German, so...
So Yuji Nagata is from New Japan Pro Wrestling. He still wrestles. He's a tremendous wrestler.
What?
Yeah, absolutely. He's he's usually in the G1 and stuff. He just had his last G1 a couple years ago, and he's still a fantastic wrestler. And then we get Mike Tenay on the call. Tell us who Mike Tenay is, John.
Mike Tenay was a part of the trio. Actually, WCW's commentary, like, sometimes I thought it was always a trio, but like it's a 4-person like club at the beginning of the show. I don't know Mike Tenay's like history. I just remember as a commentator on WCW.
Well, Mike Tenay's role is the smart mark. Okay, so he knows about the Japanese wrestlers. He knows about the Mexican wrestlers. He knows how to pronounce the word Hurricane Rana. Okay, that's like, Dusty will be like, oh, that flippy thing, man, baby, and he'll be like, yes, Hurricane Rana, so that's kind of what he's there for, because you cannot. Dusty Rhodes ain't gonna learn who El Gato is. You know what I mean? That ain't gonna happen. So.
That makes sense now that you say Mike Tenay is like the smart mark, because I have it literally in my notes how much of a smart mark he is. And the referee is Lil Nate himself, Charles Robinson.
Yes, sir.
I like that. I like seeing Lil Nate before he's Lil Nate.
He's great. He's a great ref.
Yeah. So Ultimo gets some quick offense to start with kicks and shoulder blocks before Nagata catches him with a stalling gut-wrench suplex. He sends Ultimo to the turnbuckle where he does a handstand on top of it and then just kicks him in the face. And then...
A lot of the moves in this match, John, Ultimo Dragon invented. He was one of the most innovative wrestlers of all time.
I did not know that. I just remember him from his very short tenure in WWE. I think he was on SmackDown. He was a Cruiserweight champion for 2 minutes.
Just a few, maybe a month before this, he was the J-Crown winner, the J-Crown champion. So he had 12 belts, and he would carry him to the ring with him and shit. It was awesome. And in fact, he used to be managed just a couple weeks earlier by Sonny Ono, who brought him in. And Sonny Ono and him had a falling out, so his new person was Yuji Nagata. And basically, this is a way to bring in some of the New Japan talent, because at this time, WCW has kind of a working relationship with New Japan.
Okay. Yeah, and I had kind of got the gist that Ono had kind of hired a hitman to try and take out Ultimo.
Yeah, kind
of. So this is where we get Mike Tenay being such a smart mark. He talks about all the Japanese photographers and how the outcome of this match will determine the payday back in Japan. He also says this is the pros compared to other companies. I'm guessing he's trying to bash New Japan Pro Wrestling a little bit by saying they're better, and but I don't know about that.
I'm not sure.
One of these companies is still around, just saying.
New Japan's still around. New Japan started in 1972. They've been around a long time.
Yeah. So Nagata takes control by gouging the eyes and locking in some submission holds. Ultimo dives out of the ring onto, is it Yuji? Is that what we established?
Yeah, you got
Yuji. And it's nearly missed because the camera shoots to the crowd where Raven and his flock have entered the arena through.
This is a frustrating part of WCW. And like I said, this gets worse and worse as time goes on, is that you're having a tremendous match going on in the ring, but the cameraman is worried about Raven's flock, and and then the commentators are talking about Hogan.
Right, and like spoiler alert, Raven's flock being at ringside literally does nothing in this show.
Like they haven't debuted in ring either. This is them debuting. It's just them just showing up and being there. Now some of the guys have wrestled, of course, but not, Sick Boy is Billy Kidman, and he was Billy Kidman before that. But some of these guys have not debuted their new gimmick, and so they're just sitting in the crowd. This is them debuting. It's fucking
like
stupid.
I was waiting for them just to kind of like hop over the barrier at some point in the show and just beat somebody up,
Nope.
but they don't. They just stand there. It's weird.
Stevie Richards just makes silly signs that aren't funny. So
Yeah. So back in the ring, Dragon leaps over Nagata while they're on top, and he tries to hit a sunset powerbomb, but it doesn't work. He slams Nagata down and then moonsaults onto him. Yuji hits a belly-to-belly overhead suplex and then locks in a Nagata lock, which is like a standing figure four, and then he drops down onto them. I don't remember exactly like how it looked because I watched it like a week ago, but I remember it looking really cool. But Ultimo gets to the ropes. Ultimo reverses a suplex into a dragon sleeper, but Yuji gets to the ropes as well. Ultimo puts Nagata on the top rope, and he hits a top rope Hurricane Rana, and then he tries to put another dragon sleeper on, but Yuji reverses it into an armbar, and Ultimo taps out immediately, because I forgot to mention that there was a whole story going on in this match where Ultimo's hand was being like brutalized and constantly taking a lot of the punishment, and so that's why he tapped out so quickly at the end, is because of all the damage that Nagata had done during the match.
you've seen a lot of Neville or the Bastard Pac. You've seen a lot of his matches, right?
I would say I've seen a fair amount, yeah.
I would say he's one of the most heavily influenced by Ultimo Dragon I've ever seen wrestle. Like those, especially the mule kick combo that he does is straight up something that, Ultimo Dragon started doing, and a lot of these moves and a lot, these two wrestlers in particular are extremely influential. I would, bargain to say that, guys like CM Punk and Daniel Bryan were certainly inspired by Yuji Nagata, because, he basically did Bryan Danielson's moveset, right? That's pretty much what he did.
Yeah.
Those
I would
kicks,
agree with that.
those kicks, John, are you kidding me with these kicks? They're fucking amazing. We had a dragon screw leg whip in this. We had a sunset bomb. And then I have a note here that's very important. Two notes. One is that Yuji Nagata is now known for a different arm lock. He's known for the Fujiwara arm bar, and he sits on a guy. Like basically a Fujiwara arm bar is like an arm bar where you're sitting on the opponent's back and you're twisting the arm up towards him. And what happens is when he gets it set in, he goes into a trance and he has this crazy face that he makes, and it gets a huge pop every time. It's fucking awesome. The other note I have is that Eric Bischoff and Sonny Ono were buddies, okay? They were like, they did martial arts together and stuff like that, and they invented a game, John. Did you know what the game was called? Have you ever heard of this?
No, I don't think I do.
So they had all kinds of get-rich-quick schemes together, and one of them was a game called Ninja Star Wars.
Wait,
It's
what?
It's not Ninja Star Wars. It's Ninja Star Wars. And this was like a board game type of thing with these cloth ninja stars that had like Velcro on them, and you could throw them at your friend, So
What?
really important stuff to make sure that all of our listeners know about.
Can you still buy this somewhere?
I'm sure that is somewhere out there. Somebody has a fucking Ninja Star, Wars. We don't want to get sued, for calling it Ninja Star Wars. It's Ninja Star Wars.
I'm looking to see if we can find it on like, Amazon.
Well, what'd you think of that opening match, John?
I thought it was a pretty good opening match. Like I said, I had only seen Ultimo a few times, and I don't think I've ever seen this Nagata guy. And so I thought it was a pretty good, really solid opening match that, like, if this is how we're setting the pace, like, it's going to be tough to top as the night goes on. And, like, for me personally, it was tough to top as the night goes on because, like, this match was so good compared to a lot of the other...
I
A hot mess.
I mean, man, I can't wait to hear what you didn't like about some of these matches because I fucking love this show so much. Spoiler alert. So, well, after that, Mark Madden interviews Disco and he says sexist stuff, and Jacqueline attacks him, right?
Yeah.
And then we get our next match, John, and this one is mine, right?
It is.
Okay, so we get Gato versus Chris Jericho. So, do you know who Gato is, John?
I don't.
Gato is the booker of New Japan Pro Wrestling now.
Really?
Just recently, he managed Okada for years, but he not that long ago, he joined the Bullet Club and manages Jay White. Gato is one of the best bookers in the history of pro wrestling. Not only that, he's not a bad wrestler either for most of this match. And he, I was just watching a WCW pay-per-view from 2000 the other day, and Gato and Jado are on there as a tag team. Gato's been around forever, and here's what's crazy is this match is the beginning of, kind of a history with Chris Jericho that leads to him being on Wrestle Kingdom years later. So this is a really cool thing. And again, this is why, this is part of the New Japan thing where they're trading talent and stuff, right?
Yeah.
All right, so Gato
does New Japan kind of trades talent with like Ring of Honor now, right? Is that
they did? Yeah, they don't do that anymore, but they did. Yeah.
Okay.
Ring of Honor fucked that up. That's a whole other story. But man, Ring of Honor sucks. Kind of sucks. It used to be so awesome. It's a shame. Anyway, well, this is a WCW pay-per-view. So Gato enters some super duper offensive music, excuse me, because it's, all of the Japanese people come out to this kind of, you can imagine what, I'm not going to imitate.
Some really, really generic, like Japanese, Chinese sounding music.
Yes, and it's offensive, but that is what it is. Now, Jericho should enter to his babyface WCW theme, but it's dubbed over with "Break the Wall Down." But John, I have queued up here just so you can hear it, and you've never heard this before. The WCW Chris Jericho theme. This is the happiest, most 80s theme I've ever heard. Here we go.
Okay.
Oh, is it playing?
Oh, maybe. This is tough.
I feel like I should be driving a Miata and looking behind me and pulling out a roll of Mentos or something,
Yeah, like I need to be like skipping school and, accidentally reversing my dad's Corvette out of the back window of our glass house. Like, that's what I should be doing while listening to that song.
It's pretty funny. So, all right. So, this match is famous for one thing, John. You know what it is. You watch this match, right? This is a famous match for one botch that happens a little later. We'll get to that here in a second. We start off with Gato doing some awesome heel shit as they do some lockups. Gato sells the shit out of a wrist lock reversal, and you notice something. The Japanese guys that are wrestling WCW guys on these shows sell everything. They are fucking like, I want a job. I want to keep doing this. I'm selling the shit out of this moves, right? So, which is great. Jericho hits some kicks, and Gato takes a powder. He don't want none of that little hokey pokey. And Jericho dominates with kicks and a vertical suplex. We get chops and a shoulder tackle, and Gato tries to throw Jericho to the outside, but Jericho skins the cat, and Tony Schiavone says that could have been a DQ. John, do you know why he said that?
I have no idea why he said that. I got like kind of mad when he said that. Is there a reason I shouldn't have been mad?
Okay, so in the 80s, I believe, maybe early 90s, a guy named Bill Watts, Cowboy Bill Watts, Jim Ross's like fucking favorite person in the world, who was a giant racist asshole. He took over WCW and he made a bunch of rules. He's like, this is all pussy shit. We're gonna change everything. No more flippy flops. If you go over the top rope, you're like, if you throw someone over the top rope, you're disqualified for throwing them over the top rope.
Holy shit.
So they never changed that rule. They never said, that rule doesn't exist anymore. So every once in a while it pops up. But what's so stupid about this is that Tony shouldn't say that, because here's what happens. that Gato tries to throw Jericho over the outside. Jericho skins the cat, and then Tony says that, and then Gato immediately clotheslines Jericho to the outside, which is not a DQ question mark.
Right.
What the fuck?
So
Now,
that means the guy from like WCW would hate WWF at this point,
Oh.
because the Royal Rumble was like a full-fledged thing
Well.
at this point, and that's a 30-man over the top rope like thing.
well, it's ridiculous because half the time you'll be watching Nitro or something, and someone will go over the top rope, and they're like, "Oh, it was his momentum that took him over. No DQ on that one," and it's like, what the fuck is it?
They gotta like dodge the bullet, like, oh no, no.
Still, all the way in 1997, this is still a thing they're talking about. It's fucking dumb. We get some power slams from Gato, but Jericho kicks out of a 2 count. A sleeper attempt, but Jericho counters with an electric chair. We don't see electric chair drop very often. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Double power bomb from Jericho gets a 2 count, and then it happens, John. Then it happens. Were you ready for this?
The only reason I was ready for it is because you accidentally spoiled it for me by posting like a GIF of it on Twitter. I was like, oh man, that's rough. And then like when Gato came out for this match, I was like, oh, that's what this is from.
So, all right. So we see one of the worst botches ever, worst looking botches. Apparently everyone was okay, but good Lord, you thought Jericho was dead. So they fight up to the top rope. Jericho attempts a Frankensteiner, and he just falls on his head. He falls on his head, and then like Gato falls on him. It's awful looking. So scary.
Yeah, and on commentary, Tony Schiavone goes, "Oh, he tried to go for a top rope Frankensteiner, but Gato blocked it." And then Bobby Heenan goes, "Yeah, he sure did."
They're trying to cover a little bit. They're like, "Oh, I hope he's okay. Maybe he needs a second, And then they're right back up, wrestling again. So had a lot to prove here, and but that's what he gets for trying to do that move after a previous match already did it. And Scott Steiner is in WCW, so what the fuck are we doing?
But he's nowhere to be seen. So
we had some addition by omission on this pay-per-view, and there were a few people I missed, which would be the Steiners. But we didn't get to see Six wrestle, thank goodness, right? So there's a few people.
Still was there.
He is there. So all right. So all right, where are we at here?
Yeah,
right. He attempts like Frankensteiner. And that's what he gets for doing that move. Jericho immediately dives to the outside and tries a German suplex on the floor, but Gato does this knee breaker thing where he drops Jericho's knee onto the mat from an electric chair position. That was a cool move. I've never seen that. And then Heenan says, "I like Gato," and it's hilarious. I don't know. He loves Gato because Gato's doing heel shit. It's great. Top rope leg drop is missed by Gato. It's really lazy as fuck, this leg drop. And Jericho locks in the Lion Tamer and gets the win, and Jericho's bleeding from the face after the match. John, what'd you think of that?
I wonder why he's bleeding from the face. It was not my favorite Jericho match.
Aw.
But it was entertaining. It wasn't as good as the prior match, and Jericho's still the man. Still love Jericho.
That match was not good, and I think that it would have been a lot better if they hadn't almost died, obviously. So, because it feels like that it got cut short, or that I don't know. I've never dove off the top rope and landed on my head. I'm assuming that rattles you a little bit.
Yeah, it might go to the finish a little quicker than normal.
Well, after that match, Mean Gene. I am sorry, John. Mean, by God, Gene. Woo! He talks, but we can't hear him. and then he interviews Deborah McMichael, the queen of WCW. Deborah speculates on who her pick would be to face Mongo, because she has a match. Basically there's a match. It's Mongo versus X, and we don't know who it's going to be, but it's Deborah's pick, right? So it could be anybody. It definitely would be someone, it's definitely going to be someone who makes sense in the storyline, not just some random person, okay? Will not be that.
Why would you just put a random person in there?
She says people think it might be Steven Regal, but it's not, right? Mongo interrupts, and we get a sweet, sweet dose of old school back to the camera promo from Mongo. God, I miss that, John. I miss old school wrestling where they don't even look, they just back to the camera, just don't give a fuck. Macho Man used to do that a lot. I love it.
Yeah, and Mongo is like very much like, hey, I want my money back, and since you don't make no money, and I'm like, what? And Mean Gene's like, hey, maybe we should take this to divorce court, not the locker room.
All right, everybody. I love Mean Gene. He's the best. He gets the, like, if you just watch his face during the interviews, you can't help but smile. It's amazing. And John, we're going to talk a little bit about Mongo later, but you are kind of discovering how amazingly shitty he is, right?
Yeah, because I'm just used to him doing commentary, because that was painful as it was, but I wasn't like super familiar with his wrestling abilities, and they are a treasure to behold.
Oh my God. Well, John, here it is. What's the next match?
The next match was Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Eddie Guerrero in a Mask versus WCW Cruiserweight Championship match. And
yes.
Boy, was it a match.
No shit, man. No shit. Now, John, before we get into this, is this one of the best matches you've ever seen?
Oh, without a doubt.
It's fantastic. If you do anything, if you watch anything from the show, you gotta watch this. It is the best.
And it's the third match on the card. Like, what are we doing, guys? This should have been the main event. And because I didn't even necessarily know all the history, because I feel like WCW doesn't give you video packages.
No,
I don't.
Not for the cruiserweights. No.
I don't remember seeing any video packages in this show. And it should have had one, because clearly there was some kind of frustration here. Like, why is Eddie trying to rip off a Rey's mask? Why is he so concerned about it? And even just in their entrances, you could tell that this was a very personal match. And I don't know. I would have loved a video package to highlight the storyline going into this. But
tell me all about it, man.
So right out the gate, Rey hits a spinning helicopter arm drag, I guess. I didn't know how else to describe it. So he hits a spinning helicopter arm drag that sends Eddie to the outside. Rey looks like he's going to dive out onto Eddie, but he flips over the top rope. He just does a 180 over the top rope, and then Eddie just grabs his feet and whips him off the apron. He then chucks Mysterio head first into the stairs, legitimately top of the dome, head straight into the stairs.
Well, and also when he whipped him off the apron, he bumped hard as fuck on the floor. And this is, this is a good point to make here, is that one of the things that's amazing about guys like Rey Mysterio, Psychosis, Juventud Guerrero, is at this time, they are bumping on the floor from the fucking top rope all the time. They don't give a shit. It's insane.
Yeah, and they take a beating and just keep on ticking, no matter what. And all of this happens literally in the first 30 seconds of the match. It's a very hot start.
It's amazing.
Eddie catches Rey for a belly-to-belly suplex and then hits a brainbuster, followed by a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. Eddie wants to rip off Rey's mask, and he keeps trying to tear at it. They comment how the mask is attached to the whole outfit. So Bobby suggests, why don't you just take the whole outfit off? What?
Well, it was, it's when I started watching wrestling and watching these heels trying to rip masks off when I realized that masks are steel reinforced, just like tires. They must be, because they're so hard to rip.
Yeah, and so it makes perfect sense to just take the whole outfit off. They start working the mat, with Rey somehow going from the mat to the top rope, where he leaps off for a backflip spinning DDT. It's absolutely nuts.
It's the greatest. That part might be my favorite part of the whole match. It's insane.
Just the sequence of how Rey literally goes from laying on the mat to the top rope to just doing a backflip, catches Eddie for a DDT, and I'm like, holy shit, what is going on here? And again, this is in the first 4 minutes of the match, if that. Mm-hmm. So action spills outside, and Guerrero bounces Rey off the guardrails, and then he throws him back in, and he has Rey in a camel clutch where he rips part of the mask. he finally starts ripping at the eye socket and is like has a good chunk coming off. Uh, and you like this might be the best like close up camera shot like storytelling moment I might have ever seen in professional wrestling. But like Rey Mysterio's eyes just looking at the camera are telling such a story of like fear and like anxiety that he's about to be like ousted of who he like actually is. And it's like it's magic.
I mean, while all this is going on, the crowd is losing their fucking minds too. They don't love Ray so much as they hate Eddie. They hate him. I mean, Eddie sucks chants are throughout this whole match. Anytime he looks at the crowd, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and I think this is something I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast or if it's just a conversation we had in person, but like it's not like Eddie's not necessarily like that much bigger of a guy than Rey Mysterio. I mean, like height wise, but like he's definitely a little more bulky, like muscle wise, and he's working like he's a freaking super heavyweight in this match against Rey, and it's like I don't know, just the skill level of both of these guys is phenomenal, and I still have like 3 paragraphs of this match.
Well, we've talked before about Gringo Loco and how great he is at being a base that's a independent wrestler that comes around in our area sometimes, and this is where he gets that shit. I mean, this is Eddie Guerrero facilitates, Rey Mysterio to do all these amazing moves. I mean, that's what it's all about. Their timing, their proximity, all the good stuff that goes into that. That's where it comes from, is him being a base. Because you can we've seen matches where guys are doing flips and it sucks, right? This is how you make it look good.
Right. So anyways, back to the action. Eddie puts on a gory special, but Mysterio reverses it into an arm drag. Eddie deflects a drop kick and then picks him up for a backbreaker and then locks in a bow and arrow.
John. I'm so sorry. That was the high angle Canadian backbreaker, which used to be Larry D's finisher, by the way, before he used before he used the punch. That was legendary Larry D's finish. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Nice. So he picks him up for a backbreaker and then locks him in a bow and arrow. Chops in the corner by both Eddie by both until Eddie throws Ray into the opposite turnbuckle so hard that Ray gets tied up in it. I don't know how, but he did. So Eddie tries to do a baseball slide into Ray's face, but Ray pops up and Eddie goes nuts first into the ring post. Ray then dives over the top of over the turnbuckle onto Eddie on the outside. Back in the ring, Ray gets a Hurricane Rana pinfall, like a pinning Hurricane Rana for 2, followed by a 619 into a head scissor that sends Eddie over the top to the outside. He then does a diving somersault moonsault onto Eddie on the outside. And my notes just say, what's going on?
Amazing shit. That's what's going on.
Back in the ring, Eddie nearly powerbombs Ray through the ring because there's so much force behind this powerbomb. But it's only good for a 2. Ray jumps off the top, and Eddie catches him for another backbreaker. Like, how Ray's spine is still intact after this match, I don't know. Ray runs at Eddie, and then he gets tossed up to the top rope. Eddie pushes Ray's feet, and then he climbs up to the top rope and goes for a razor's edge from the top. But again, another what the hell? What's happening here? And as he's going for the razor's edge, Ray catches him and does a pinning Hurricane Rana from the top rope and is able to steal the win and the strap. And as Rey Mysterio is celebrating in the corner, he's celebrating too much because Eddie is pissed and he just starts trying to kill Ray again. Just starts beating the crap out of him.
How dare he celebrate? Yeah, Mike Tenay did a really good job during this match filling us in on the background of these guys and talked about the Guerrero family and, how they're related to Rey Mysterio and all that, which is really cool. And I would like to mention that the Hurricane Rana move is supposed to be a pin. That Hurricanrana pin is originally how that move was done, and it is terrifying. That move is so terrifying. A lot of people saw it maybe for the first time when Ricochet and Will Ospreay did it a few years ago. It's an insane move that looks like if you mess it up a little bit, somebody's fucking dying, right?
Right. Yeah, because the neck could easily, just get snapped here. But
yeah. Well, John, I mean, it's one of the best matches of all time. I mean, everyone knows that. If you're a huge wrestling fan, or especially if you're a wrestler, you know about that match, and it's one of the best ones of all time. I mean, are you happy that you got to see that at least?
I am. I have to confess. So one of the things, like when I'm watching a show, like I don't typically like rewind or pause or do any of that to like make sure I get all the notes. This match, and I'm pretty sure I still missed a ton of notes. But I definitely stopped and went back a few times because I'm like, holy shit, what did they just do? What was that? How do I describe that? Like, it was such a good match. Like, this could easily like be a rewatchable. Like, I could watch this one probably like every day if I really wanted to and not get like bummed about watching it again because it's that good.
I think I watched it 6 times for the show. So I watched this whole pay-per-view 3 times, and I watched that match like 6 times. So I love it. It's so awesome, man. I just, it was just outstanding. So, well, after that, Mean Gene, he makes a bad joke, and he touts his hotline, which is, man, that was really his, and he made a ton of money off that, like $250,000 a year and shit like that.
Did you hear what kind of tips he was giving off there about the
let's
backstage?
hear about it. Tell me, please.
He said you can call the hotline for $1.59 a minute. Like, I'm pretty sure like that starts like as soon as you call, and like when they're like going through the menu option, like they slowly take their time telling you the options. But he says if you want to hear about the new Click backstage, call the hotline.
Oh my God, the Click. Yeah, that's like them guys that are, that do the Too Sweet thing, right?
Yeah, I didn't know Hunter and Sean were there too.
Well, Tony throws to a pre-tape of Hogan and Bischoff doing a promo. And Bischoff says that Hogan will not wrestle because of the unsafe work environment. And it's because it's not safe for the fans. Not for Hogan. He's going to be fine. It's for the fans. And unless WCW bans Sting from the building, then Hogan will not wrestle. Hogan says that he's the god of pro wrestling. And John, I also watched the Nitro after this and the Nitro before this. And do you know what Hogan, what outrageous claim that usually in a movie gets someone killed immediately that Hogan made in the Nitro after this?
That they're like indestructible, unstoppable.
You're close. I mean, who is indestructible? Who is unstoppable?
God.
That's right. He says, I am God. Straight up. That's unbelievable.
Perfect.
So Hogan says, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying perfect. That is exactly what I think Hogan thinks of himself, is that he is a god.
Definitely. So Hulk Hogan, he says that Roddy Piper is scared anyway, and he says that the fans will run J.J. Dillon out of the building, and they end the promo by almost breaking. They're just staring at each other about to giggle. Do you know who J.J. Dillon is?
I feel like I should know, like the name sounds familiar, but I'm not positive that I could like pick him out in a lineup.
Longtime Crockett Promotion WCW guy. He is the manager of the Four Horsemen, and sometimes referred to as James J. Dillon. And he wrestled in War Games matches. He would blade all the time. I mean, that guy. He's also humongous, and he was kind of a wrestler / manager for a long time. He's pretty awesome. We're going to see him a little later in the show, though.
We are?
Oh, yeah.
That's why I said I literally couldn't pick him out in a lineup.
I watched this 3 fucking times, John. So next we get a singles match, and this is our match with Steve Mongo McMichael versus ? With Deborah McMichael. And who is this guy? John, have you ever seen Alex Wright, Das Wunderkind?
I have seen Alex Wright. I like Alex Wright. He's a cool dude.
You're familiar with him. Are you familiar with his silly dance?
That is what I'm familiar with. The put one arm behind your head with the other arm going down with the leg, and then you switch legs and arms. Yeah, I could do the Alex Wright dance right now if you needed me to.
I mean, you could do it while I talk. How about that?
Okay.
So, like I said before, I mean, obviously Alex Wright has really, taken a part. He's a big part of the storyline. He is not just some random guy. He's totally just some random guy. What the fuck is this? And this is LOL WCW.
Do you think that Deborah picked him because of like his attractiveness?
Maybe
because
that's the storyline.
He's like a young stud in the WCW roster.
Yeah.
Who no one thinks he's like any type of threat. But hey, he's got cool dance moves and he's got a few abs. Let's put him in there and a leather jacket to boot.
Well, hang on, John. So you think he's a new wrestler. You think he's a young guy. Let's get into this. So, Das Wunderkind, he dances on his way, to the ring to his shitty techno music. And Alex Wright is a German-born pro wrestler. He was signed by WCW in 1994 and stayed until the company folded in 2001. The perpetual mid-carder improved as a wrestler throughout his career, and I'm always happy to see him. But he's most known for his infamous gimmick. Do you remember his gimmick?
I mean, he wasn't Glacier, was he?
No. He got repackaged in 1999 as Berlin, and he was a bald guy, and he had his sidekick, The Wall, that was a giant guy.
Oh my God, this was him? Like
Yeah.
I remember the gimmick, but I didn't realize it was him. I don't think.
Fucking stupid. So, yeah, poor guy. Well, these guys are huge, by the way. In comparison to everyone else we've seen tonight, the ring looks tiny now. And John, have you noticed at all that the ring is smaller in WCW than it is in WWE?
I mean, I didn't get out my tape measure or anything, but now that you mention it, it does seem. Is it like what, 4 feet smaller?
I believe it's an 18 by 18. It looks a lot smaller than an 18 by 18, but it can't be a 16 by 16. There's no way they would do that, But it's smaller, so all of a sudden the ring looks tiny because these two guys are humongous, right? Let's see. We get a little hokey pokey to start until it's wrist lock city, John. All day long, we are wrist locking. And Mongo is strong and virtuous. Alex is fast and cowardly. That's our story. We get some good crowd work from both of them. The crowd is actually really into this match. They don't know good wrestling, I guess.
Yeah, because I was not into this match.
Alex Wright gets an arm drag of sorts and gloats. And then it's wrist locks the match again as Alex gets some heat on Mongo. Mongo has the worst fire-up out of a hold in the history of wrestling. Like, he's trying to fire up out of this hold, and he shakes a little and then just gives up and kind of just moves his arms slowly. Fucking terrible.
Everything about Mongo is terrible.
Oh, that's true. He executes this, like another arm drag of sorts. I don't know what to call it. Alex is doing his best to carry Mongo, and he grabs a headlock, and they have a nice long chat. After the chat, Mongo comes back with a hip toss and stomps. The announcers talk about the NWO as Alex hits a weird drop kick. They try to do the tombstone reversal spot, but give up immediately. Do you know what that is, John?
No, I was reading my notes. What was that?
So the tombstone reversal spot that it's made famous, in my opinion, by The Undertaker and Roman Reigns trying to do it at WrestleMania, and The Undertaker going, brrr, and just giving up, right?
Yeah, that was the same night where you can see Roman laughing in the ring.
Yeah.
Because he's so embarrassed by the match. We all were.
If you guys would like to spoil The Undertaker for the rest of your life, watch that series that the WWE just put out where it's Undertaker out of character, and they show him watching that match. They show him watching it, and he is embarrassed as fuck, as he should be. It's awesome. So that's great. So they try that spot, and they give up. Mongo just picks Alex up and hits the tombstone. All right. So, but that's not
Mongo's not good at these tombstones things.
No,
it looks very dangerous.
It's one of the worst ideas ever to have Mongo as his finish be the tombstone. It's not good. So,
it's like he's not even trying to keep the guy's head in his thighs. He's just oh, if you slip, that's on you, man.
Tuck your head.
Shouldn't have been so sweaty.
So he picks him up. That's his finish. But guess what, John? fucking Goldberg runs in while Deborah distracts ref Charles Robinson, and they proceed to bury the fuck out of Charles Robinson by doing the spear jackhammer right next to him. He sees it all.
Next to him.
I mean, right next to him. And he sees it all, but pretends that he doesn't so that he won't get fired. But basically what happens is that Goldberg has been hired by Deborah to take out Mongo. So why wasn't he just the guy in the match? Why? What is this?
Right. Why didn't you just bring him in to do this? Like, especially if Goldberg is like your huge star. Why is he just not in a match?
He's not there yet. This is still where he's on his win streak, and he's kind of just becoming. This is part of him becoming a character here. This is them attempting to put this guy who kills jobbers in a storyline. So that's what this is. So they got to bury the ref, of course, and it doesn't make any sense why they wouldn't do. I just Alex Wright was your red herring. Why wouldn't you pick someone else? Why wouldn't you pick somebody? Another. Why? A lot of people were saying, why wasn't it Jeff Jarrett? Now I don't want to see Jeff Jarrett, but that would have made a lot more sense if it was Jeff Jarrett. And she even said, Deborah said, a lot of people say it's Jeff Jarrett, but it ain't. Which is pretty good.
Just use Jeff Jarrett then.
Yeah. So, basically Goldberg kills Mongo, and then he drags Alex over and puts him on Mongo in time for the ref to suddenly notice and count the pin. So Alex gets the win. And after the match, Goldberg shows off the Super Bowl ring that he stole from Mongo, and he had Deborah stand there and he celebrate. But if Deborah's secret guy was always going to be Goldberg, why not just have him in the match? It's a weird story, but it's based on some reality, at least, with both, the football guys. Goldberg's a football guy. Mongo's a football guy. Goldberg is a heel because he does. That's the other thing is, why is he a heel? He was always, face, but he's a heel because he wants to steal Mongo's ring that Mongo won. And the only reason that Mongo is a face is because the NWO is there because Mongo's in the Four Horsemen.
Which... Mongo being in the Four Horsemen is a sham.
You're right.
Did you catch what Goldberg said after the match?
Yes.
After he then speared and jackhammered Alex Wright as well, because he was just an equal opportunist. He has the Super Bowl ring and he says, "Here's the next victim. I'm gonna put it in my pocket." Oh, and he's got trunks on. So what pocket is he gonna put it in, Andy?
I have word for word what he said. So here's what Goldberg said. Yeah, right there. The next victim, right in the pocket. Yeah. That's what he said.
And then he puts the ring literally on his pubes inside of his trunks.
Well,
and he walks off.
Maybe you don't know this, John, but there are inner trunks and there are outer trunks. Usually when someone's wearing trunks, they're wearing two pair. One is the inner, one is the outer. So,
I don't know. I don't think Goldberg's that kind of guy. I think he's just a one-trunk guy. If you accidentally get a show, you accidentally get a show. He's not ashamed.
Well, after the, in my pocket, then we see that Deborah gave Goldberg the ring as payment. Oh, why is this all backwards? God, so fucking dumb.
Just put him in the match, have him spear Jackhammer Mongo. It could have saved just 15 minutes. But we didn't want to do that.
After that, we get NWO Macho Man with Elizabeth, and he gets a promo, and he says he's gonna win. I love Macho Man's answers to his own questions. He's like, I'm gonna beat you. Why? Because I'm the Macho Man. Oh yeah. And I don't have a very good Macho Man impersonation, but I love that his reason for why he's gonna do something is because he's the Macho Man. That's why. I love that.
Does he need any other reason?
No, it's amazing. So,
I didn't think so.
John, what was the next match?
The next match was a non-title match. It was the WCW TV champion Disco Inferno taking on Jacqueline. Which, I'm going to be honest, I didn't know that Jacqueline was in WCW.
She was brought in by Kevin Sullivan. And she was like his security guard at first, I believe, before this storyline.
Okay, yeah, because I just remember her from WWE, Miss Jackie.
Mm-hmm.
So this match is a barn burner. So we had some hokey pokey for 10 minutes. Inferno doesn't want to hit a woman, supposedly, so he keeps going in and out of the ring, using the referee as a safeguard to protect himself. After maybe 5 minutes, Jackie is tired of waiting, so she chases him and shoulder blocks him into the gut, and then hits a sunset flip for a pin of 2. Disco hits a drop toe hold, kind of by mistake, and then he runs away again. He hides in the ropes again, so she grabs him and throws him into her. And then, no, wait, let me start. He hides in the ropes again, so she grabs him and he throws her with an arm drag, and then they chase each other again. The crowd starts booing this match, and I don't think it was like, oh, boo, Disco Inferno. I think it was like, boo, this match is awful. So Disco thinks he's finally lost her, and but then she starts punching him and gets him on the mat, and she keeps wailing on him. He slides out and says he's done, and as he's leaving, she chases him, and he gets a forehead to the back of the head. I don't know, whatever that means.
Forearm, I believe.
Forearm, yes, that's probably what it was. But a forehead to the back of the head sounds good too. It sounds painful. He runs back to the ring. He still won't hit her. Won't hit her too hard with his shoulder blocks. He pushes her out of the ring. She grabs his leg and then pulls him nut first into the ring post. So if you're keeping track, I believe that is the second nut shot of the night on the same ring post.
The same ring post. Everyone's wiping their balls on the fucking ring post. And, everyone, ring postitis is contagious tonight,
Yeah. A couple clotheslines and then a spinning DDT from Jackie. She's able to hit a crossbody off the top, but he flips over and he tries to pin her. But she kicks out and then gets a pinning roll-up to pick up the victory. And that was our match. So I'm assuming she's now the number 1 contender for the WCW Television Championship.
She could be. Now, John, the way you're talking about this, you don't sound very excited about it. It seems like you didn't like this match. Is that right?
That would be accurate. It was all hokey pokey.
Yes. I would argue that this match was too long, and that's what makes it, maybe, if you're going to say it's bad, that's what makes it bad. I think Disco does a fantastic job of working the crowd. And what I mean is they build the audience's anticipation for these revenge spots where he turns his back and then she attacks him, comes running up on him. And man, the crowd goes fucking nuts for that shit. So I don't know what crowd you were watching, but the crowd seemed really into this every time that Disco was getting beat up. What do you think of Disco Inferno?
I think he's right there with Alex Wright in that, he's just a fantastic wrestler that WCW had the honor of having on their roster.
You are sarcastic as fuck. I love
I like Disco Inferno. I like Alex Wright too. I genuinely like both of them. They just I don't remember them getting huge pushes, but I think Disco Inferno is super entertaining. Even from his promo from earlier where he's just belittling women, he's getting the job done. He's making us not like him. Though I love heels, so I'm yeah, this guy's great.
I think he's awesome. I think he's really good, and he was one of those guys that I just thought was so fucking funny when I was a teenager watching this. I was like, oh my god, this guy's hilarious. And I also just want to mention that Jackie came out to Jim Rome bumper music. I don't know why, but Jim Rome uses that song for bumper music, that boom, and I was like, wow, it's Jim Rome on. So that was weird.
Maybe they had her PMS theme song spliced in here.
Now there is an issue later on with. There was something about how he didn't want a job to a woman and all this stuff, and there were some issues with that later on. So, this is kind of, art imitating life, imitating art a little bit. But I thought it was a fun match, and it was just way too long. I think that was my issue with it. But
yeah, I think that was, I guess that was probably mine too, because, I don't know, I feel like this match was 12, 15 minutes long.
Yeah, it was.
And, legit, the first 5 minutes was him just, getting in and out of the ring. I'm like, oh my God, what are we
I mean,
doing?
and who knows? That could have been Disco playing politics, saying, "Well, if I'm going to lose to a woman, I want to lose in 12 minutes. I don't want to lose in 3." You know, he doesn't want to get squashed. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they just went over their time. Who knows? I like Jackie as a wrestler, and you can tell she is having a fucking blast. She looked like she was having so much fun. You know, she becomes one of the like faces on Tough Enough. You know, one of the face trainers on there, and that's kind of where I know her the most from. Is from that. She's pretty great on that show.
Yeah, I mean, she's a badass. She's a really good, like, not even just a female wrestler. Like, she's a good wrestler, like, overall.
Certainly.
Like, she was one of the few, I think, during. I mean, she was like a little prior to like the Attitude Era, but like during the Attitude Era, she was one of the few that actually could have a good match, and that was like few and far between on some of the like female rosters.
That's a fact, man. You're not wrong about that. Well, next we get Tony Schiavone. He says a member of the NWO Executive Committee will make an announcement about Hogan. No, he won't. So.
No, we'll just keep burying that story. Like, we'll just keep going on and on about that storyline. I had a note during the Mongo match that like I didn't bring up because you like sort of brought it up, but like the commentary, literally the entire match, the entire Mongo Alex Wright match, just complained about Hogan not wrestling in the main event. I was like, what? There's nothing that was discussed about the action in the ring.
Nope.
It was all about Hogan not wanting to wrestle later. And how the fans deserved better.
Now, John, this next match, if you don't like this match, we're going to have a problem, okay? This next match is two of the most unselfish wrestlers of all time having a match. These are guys who don't even do offense. That's all they do is sell. It's like Dolph Ziggler versus Dolph Ziggler, you know? And this match is actually a United States heavyweight title match. It's Curt Hennig, who's the champion, versus Ric Flair. My God. This is one of my favorite matches on the show because it is just outstanding. I love it. I think it's so great. What were you expecting when you saw this on the card, John?
Honestly, I was expecting a disqualification finish because Rick seemed real fired up and Curt did not. Well, and when Curt came out with a Ric Flair robe on with the sleeves that he had clearly cut off.
He yoked it out.
I was like, oh, this isn't going to end well for him, man.
Oh, my God. Yeah, so Curt Hennig comes out in the yoked out Flair robe that he stole. And, you know, and Flair comes out, you know, to his to his music. But Flair is like, this is a hot shot start. You know, Flair runs to the ring and immediately starts beating up Curt Hennig, just punching him, and the crowd's going nuts. And Curt has his crazy bumping shoes on tonight, so Flair punches him, and Curt Hennig just goes fucking flying across the ring, and it is so great. I love it. Ric Flair, he just beats up Curt all over the place, and then wraps his leg around the ring post. He tries to use a chair, but Hennig dodges. And then it's more punches and chops. Ric Flair takes the robe and puts it on to a massive pop. I mean, the crowd is like, holy shit. And he hits Curt, who sells like he's been shot by a sniper, and Flair just struts, and the crowd loses their fucking mind.
Ric Flair knows how to work a crowd.
Oh, man, he knows what they like. Well, plus, you know, this is, he's, you know, the Four Horsemen. I mean, Ric Flair is popular wherever he goes, so it's amazing. He takes the robe back off and continues his assault on Hennig. Curt gets a clothesline, and now it's Flair's, gosh, I don't know what this means. YITB. What does that stand for, you think?
I
think it's just a typo. I think it's just Flair's turn to sell like a maniac. Yeah. Oh, that stands for yeah, it's that bad. That's what it stands for. But yeah, he just sells like a maniac. It's his turn. Curt Hennig focuses on Rick's leg with stomps and wraps it around the ring post himself. And the announcers won't shut the fuck up about the goddamn son of a bitch NWO. We have more back and forth, and there's a few points in this match that both guys are just selling and no one's doing offense. It fucking rules. I love it.
They're just like breathing on each other and like, ugh.
So there's some Irish whips, and Hennig gets an elbow that scores a 2 count. Kurt starts working over the head, Ric Flair's head, and Flair puts his dukes up, but gets whipped into the corner. And he, of course, bumps over the top rope to the floor like a complete insane person. It's awesome. So Kurt continues the beatdown on the floor using the guardrail to help his assault. Back in the ring, Flair fires up with chops and the shoulder tackle. Kurt Hennig catches Flair in a sleeper hold. And Hennig tries to actually murder Flair with a chair by hitting him up against the ring post. But Flair dodges, thank God. And I think Dusty was like, I don't want to end a man's career. That would end his life, baby. I think is what he says. I'm like, that's awesome.
That's a pretty good Dusty, by the way.
I've worked on a little bit. Everybody, you should all have a good Dusty Rhodes. So it's pretty easy, and plus he's the best. So Hennig, all right, here we go. So Flair dodges that, and he gets an eye poke, which gets a huge pop from the crowd. It's just hilarious. And Hennig tries to leave, and we get this spot like 8 times a night where a heel tries to leave, but Flair chases him down. And Tony says, it's a metaphor for the main event. And my next note, what's it say here? It says, fuck off, Tony. That's what it says. Not everything's about Hulk Hogan.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I am. Back in the ring, Kurt Hennig hits a knee lift that makes Flair do a flip. We get a perfect plex attempt, but Ric Flair counters it with a vertical suplex, which is pretty much the only wrestling moves in this whole match. So, while Hennig is up in the vertical suplex, he grabs the ropes for a second to help Ric Flair balance. It's fucking great, man. Oh, Tree of Woe, and Flair wraps the belt around Kurt's head. So, and then he stomps on it, causing a DQ, and Flair turns around to the ref and just punches him dead in the fucking face.
He's a kid. He's going to beat up Kurt as much as he wants.
So he keeps beating up Kurt, and the refs run in. What are they going to do? And then we get K-Dog and Vincent, K-Dog being Conan, and Vincent being, what's his name? You know who I'm talking about. I can't remember his name now on WWF, but $1 Million Man's guy, his manservant or whatever.
Virgil?
Yes, Virgil. So basically Virgil and Conan run out, and Tony wonders why WCW would stop Ric Flair, meaning he's like, why are the refs trying to stop Ric Flair from beating the shit out of an NWO member?
Amen.
He's right. He's right. NWO members escape to the back. John, what did you think of that?
I thought it was fun.
Okay.
Exactly what you said. I mean, it was just them beating the shit out of each other and selling like maniacs. It's almost like when The Rock takes like a Stone Cold Stunner. How he just like oversells. That was just this match the entire time.
The whole match. This is fucking awesome. I thought this was so much fun. When I suggest matches to people, especially if they're a wrestler, I'm going to definitely suggest this match because it's a masterpiece in my opinion. I thought it was fucking amazing. So after that, Mark Madden talks to the Macho Man next to a computer because internet. And John, did you know that the website for WCW is called WCWWrestling.com? So it's World Championship Wrestling.com.
No.
Yeah, it's fucking stupid.
Listen, URLs were hard to think of back then, and they don't make sense.
Yeah, because somebody else had WCW Wrestling, or WC Wrestling. Somebody else had that. That's weird.
Maybe like WCW was like worldclasswomen.com.
No, maybe it's Wednesday something Crush. I don't know.
Woman Crush
Wednesday. Wednesday. There you go. It's that. I know my my Twitters and stuff. So
yeah, you're so hip.
Oh, big time. I mean, I love Ric Flair versus Kurt Hennig. That's how hip I am. So. Mean Gene's on the ramp with legendary manager and president of WCW, J.J. Dillon. J.J. Dillon explains that the match is going to happen. He keeps reaching into his sport coat, too, because he can't wait to get this little piece of paper out. And Bischoff interrupts, and he gets fired by me, and he keeps saying, you don't have the stroke. He was really trying to get that word over, stroke. I don't know why.
Well, just stroke it. You ever heard that song, Stroke It?
Funny story. One time, I was for my graduation party. I turned 18, and it was my graduation party for school. My girlfriend's mom rented a karaoke machine. None of us had ever heard "Stroke It." We just saw that on there, and we sang it over and over and over. And that was like the whole party was just us singing "Stroke It."
I'm stroking. Stroke it to the left.
Right.
Stroke it to the right.
John, if your stuff's too tight, I'll stick it in your woo.
And then we can stroke it all night.
So gross. All right, so James J. Dillon, he presents a document that binds Hogan to the match or something. Bischoff is mad, and he says, "You don't have stroke. I'm going to say the word stroke." So he does.
Maybe he was having a stroke, and that's why he just kept saying that word.
That's right. You can make fun of that still, right? That's okay.
I think so.
I like it. What was the next match, Joe?
The next match, thankfully, Kurt Hennig, with him winning, the NWO theme song was still playing, so that Scott Hall and Syxx could come out for their next match against Lex Luger with special guest referee Larry Zbyszko.
Yeah. So this match is all about like setting up this feud between Scott Hall and Larry Zbyszko that started when the NWO first showed up. Like he was always fucking with Larry Zbyszko, and they're actually really great friends, by the way, still to this day. So they wanted to work together, and this took like a year to set up. So this is kind of like trying to get that direction towards that. So
okay, yeah, because I'd never seen Larry Zbyszko wrestle, and they were just like kept going on and on about him, and I'm like, I guess.
John, I'm going to tell you something about this match that's going to make your head explode a little later. So you go ahead and tell me all about it, and then I'll tell you about it.
Okay, so Hall flicks his toothpick into Larry's face, and Luger's not about that life. They tie up in various turnbuckles, and Zbyszko keeps breaking it up. Lex tries to rip Scott's shoulder off from the socket. He these shoulder blocks and pulls just looked vicious. Hall grabs Lex's arm and pulls them behind his back. Lex starts to make a comeback, but then he gets a knee into the ribs. Luger eventually reverses it, and Scott gets to the ropes, but Larry doesn't call for the rope break quickly, which makes Syxx and Scott very mad.
Now, John, have you noticed Lex Luger has kind of an idiosyncrasy that he does while he wrestles? Have you noticed this at all?
I don't think so. Elaborate.
So when he throws a punch, da! When he gets hit by a punch, da! When he falls down, da! It's that. Everything that happens is da! And a fun little story is one time me and Aaron Williams were talking about that, Midwest professional wrestler Aaron Williams, and we were on our way to a show, and I said, Aaron, please do me a favor. Please, in your match tonight, just sell like Lex Luger. And he did. And it was really funny. It's on IWTV somewhere. I'll have to figure out which one it is, but it was really funny.
There is another local wrestler, we won't have to name him, at NWF. He also very much does the Lex Luger sell and hit, I think.
Okay. You'll have to fill me in later.
You know who I'm talking about. One name, 2 syllables.
Okay.
Anyways, so where were we at? Larry doesn't call for the rope break. Scott hits a running lariat and almost takes off Luger's head. He chokes him on the second rope, and Larry counts to 5, but decides he's not going to DQ Hall for some reason. And then Syxx goes to punch Lex, but Larry catches him and tells him he's out of here. But he doesn't go anywhere.
He doesn't leave. Yeah, he doesn't care.
So this goes back to earlier in the show when the one commentator guy is trying to call for DQ over top rope, but we have blatant wrestlers interfering in matches that doesn't get called for a DQ and isn't mentioned on commentary. We have Larry Zbyszko clearly counting to 5. He should disqualify Scott. Doesn't. Syxx supposed to leave. Doesn't. So why isn't the commentary? Why are they playing we're going to call some things as should be DQs, but not all?
Well, I'll tell you, sort of, because, I see this as a different situation. Here's what I see. I see Larry Zbyszko as one of the best referees I've ever seen in a match, because he catches the bad guy cheating every time. Every time he catches him cheating. Every other ref would not even notice. You know what I mean? Like, Larry doesn't fall for the thing where Six is trying to distract him. He tries to kick him out and immediately turns around to see what's going on. So, and the reason why Larry Zbyszko is so good at catching heels cheating is because he is one of the most notorious heels in the history of professional wrestling. He turned on Bruno Sammartino. He's the guy. I mean, Bruno Sammartino had the belt for 5 years, maybe longer, maybe 20 years. I have no idea. It was a really long time. And he was the one who turned on him and got the belt off him. So, he is a legendary heel, and here he is in a face situation. And, it's all about him and Hall. So that give you a little insight to that.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't know all that, especially the Bruno Sammartino thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool. He doesn't look old enough to be back in that feud.
I guess he just takes care of himself, and he was really young because he was Bruno's
protege.
Yeah, and eventually turned on him. I believe it was I don't want to say who I think it was that got the belt off him because I'll be wrong, but it was somebody. So one of these famous old wrestlers would be like, oh yeah, that guy.
Oh, it's probably Hulk Hogan.
Oh. This is before Hulk Hogan. So
there's some slow count pinfalls from Zbyszko, who just refuses to count fast for Scott. Scott locks in a sleeper hold. He checks once, he checks twice, he checks thrice. And finally, on the fourth attempt, even though he should have called it on the third, Lex keeps his arm up. He wakes up and is like, oh shit, I missed that spot on that last spot. So thank goodness he's giving me a fourth try. He's able to slam down Hall, but it doesn't account for anything. Luger is on the apron, and Hall punches him from the inside, and Larry breaks it up and tosses Hall over the top rope. Bischoff then runs out, and Larry kicks him off the apron.
It looked like he was supposed to punch him, but Eric dodged. And so,
yeah.
and he was kind of trying to pull the rope so that Eric would go towards him, but he didn't. So then he just fucking kicked him. It was awesome.
Yeah, and Eric Bischoff, go away, man. This is your fifth appearance on this pay-per-view.
He's the worst, man.
So a fast 10 count. So Bischoff is out. Larry kicks him off the apron. A fast 10 count. He tries to do a fast 10 count, but Scott Hall is able to get back in at 8. There's a Bischoff distraction resulting in Hall getting a knee to the nuts. Another Bischoff distraction, which resulted in 6 coming in, kicking Luger in the head, and then Hall hitting an outsider's edge, and then he pins Luger for a very slow pinfall. And so the winner is Scott Hall. But right after the match, Larry wants to see a replay. And he sees that 6 cheated, and he immediately wants the match started back up.
See, he knows all the tricks. He's like, I know something's not right here, and he's not a dumb referee. He's a smart referee.
Yeah. So Hall gets back in the ring, and he bullies Zbyszko, and then he backs into Luger, who puts him in the torture rack. Before he even locks it in, Larry calls for the bell, but 6 gets in and forearms him, and then kicks Lex in the stomach. So I'm guessing the match is then thrown out. Because then post-match, Larry chokes out 6. Bischoff comes in and kicks Larry, and then Hall joins in, and they all beat him down while Lex Luger just chills on the outside of the ring and does not want to go help at all.
He got kicked.
Yeah, okay. So the bad guys all leave, and then Luger comes in hey man, you okay?
Did you see 6 selling that chokehold? Oh my god, his he's just flailing around, psychopath. That was amazing.
Yeah.
And one of my other favorite parts of this match is when Larry Zbyszko starts counting Hall out, and then Hall realizes he has to run back to the ring. The face that he makes is just priceless. It's awesome.
Damn it, I wasn't planning on running.
He's like, you were serious? So yeah, and then basically Bischoff pins him to get the symbolic win, when really the feud is with Scott Hall, not with Bischoff. So it almost seems like at this time, maybe they do this. I'm not sure. Maybe there is a Zbyszko Bischoff match before the Hall match. I'm not sure.
I mean, it would make sense because Bischoff likes to get in the ring and act like he's a wrestler. So
yeah, but making sense. It's WCW, man. Who cares?
You right. Never mind.
So after that, we get a World War III promo. And World War III, after that, it says, no thank you. John, do you know what World War III is?
Apparently, it's a 60-man, 3-ring, 1 survivor match.
Fuck that.
That's so many people.
It's the worst shit ever. So bad. It's like a lot of times in these matches, they have 3 screens on the screen at the same time with each ring, but then sometimes they'll have 2 of the same, like 2 shots of the same ring and 2 of them, and oh my god, it's a nightmare. The nightmare.
That sounds like a headache.
We will not be covering that. All right, so our next match is a sudden death match, which is actually just a last man standing match.
Oh, can I describe how they announced it?
Oh, please, yes, please do.
This is a Las Vegas sudden death match. No DQ, no count out, no pinfall, no submissions. None of that counts. The only way you can win is your opponent not being able to answer the 10 count. I'm like, you guys are just like overbooked this match. Just say it's a last man standing.
This match gets mistaken for another match a lot of times because a lot of people think this is the match where Randy Savage, the famous story where DDP's sitting in the locker room and here comes Randy and Randy looks at him and says, I think I want to take the diamond cutter tonight, but that was the match previous to this that they had at Spring Stampede. So he lost to Page at Spring Stampede and earlier in 1997, and that helped propel Diamond Dallas Page to be a top guy. He is super over here. People love DDP. DDP is one of the only people besides Larry Zbyszko and Sting who have stood up to the NWO. So at this point, obviously Flair did earlier too, but a couple months before this, he had been one of the only guys, and he would get over on them. And nobody got over on them. Like, for example, the whole thing where, they asked him to join and he says, sure. And he takes the shirt and then hits them both with a diamond cutter when they're not looking, like that kind of shit. He did that a couple weeks and he was getting super over for that because they liked him. If you listen to Hall and Nash talk about DDP, they loved him. They thought he was a great dude. And I have a feeling a couple free bar tabs may have something to do with that.
Not anymore. Now it's just a free yoga lesson or 2.
Right. Feel the bang, John. So, like I said, it's a last man standing match, but they choose to call it everything but that. And Page has taped ribs from an NWO Sting attack. So Sting NWO, we'll talk about that a little more later. Immediately, these guys are brawling on the outside to start. Page is another guy that sells like a fucking psychopath, and it's awesome. I love it. They're back in the ring, and Randy beats down DDP in the corner, and Page returns the favor to a good reaction. We get a double clothesline, and the ref counts because we get a little double down at the beginning of the match. That's not where that goes, but that's fine. Back up and a swinging neck breaker from Page. He goes for the diamond cutter immediately, but Randy runs because he knows what that move can do because Spring Stampede, he got hit with it, right? Good stuff.
It's devastating. It can take you out for at least 3.
At least. So you get a plancha to the outside from DDP, and he brings Savage back in the ring. And as he's doing so, Randy snaps Page's head on the ropes and hits a top rope axe handle to the floor. Really cool. They brawl into the crowd. And John, at this time, brawling into the crowd was not it had been kind of pioneered by ECW, and then WCW started doing it in late 1996 with Kevin Sullivan versus Chris Benoit, where they would go in the bathroom and fight each other. So this, going into the crowd was a new thing. The fucking crowd loves this, right? I
mean, I love it when the action spills out in the crowd still to this day. So It's understandable.
Well, Dusty likes it too because he says, "Oh my God, they're amongst them now, baby." That's that's why hearing Dusty say the word "amongst" is that's worth the whole match. So, some Mark is so excited that he takes his shirt off. He takes his shirt.
I would too.
So then, John, they do your favorite shit. They fight over to your favorite set, the Halloween Havoc set, and they break fucking everything. So, and there's a part where DDP hits Randy with the tombstone, not the tombstone pile driver, but an actual tombstone, and Dusty Rhodes says, "Oh, he wobble-legged there."
I was devastated to find out that these weren't like actual like cement tombstones, but that's okay.
They're good enough to make you wobble-legged amongst them. It's fucking awesome. So they fight back into the ring area, and Macho Man, I don't know what this says. He steps to attack Paige. I don't know what that means. He uses the ring steps to attack Paige. Okay. Savage attacks a cameraman and steals the very expensive camera. Did you hear what Tony Schiavone claimed? How much he claimed this camera is worth?
Oh, I sure did. I wrote down the commentary. This was like a great show to write down commentary. Bobby Heenan goes, "I wonder how much the bill's gonna be," and then Tony Schiavone goes, "That's worth $100,000 plus." No, it's not, man.
It's really funny. So that was great. Commentary was funny on this match. So, basically Savage tries to hit Paige, but gets the camera kicked into him, destroying it. And then Elizabeth has like a glass serving tray from catering, and she just hits the ref with it out of nowhere. I laughed so hard because she doesn't get involved in matches. What the fuck? And even the announcers are like, "What the hell is this?" So she chokes DDP with the extension cord. Or extension card is what they called it.
She's a bad girl now.
Then the Diamond Doll, the Booty Babe. It's Kimberly Page, and she runs in to attack Liz. So then Dusty Rhodes yells "catfight." It's gross, and the ladies brawl to the back. DDP hits some crappy-looking moves and calls for the Diamond Cutter. Then he tries a Canadian backbreaker. Yeah, Canadian backbreaker, but just takes a bump. It's a weird, like, something's wrong there. But so, like, because DDP is like, I want to sell for, like, my hero, the Macho Man, he's like, "Oh, I fucked someone up, I'll just take a bump." You know what I mean?
Because it's my bad, I'll do this one.
Right. It looked like he was supposed to hit the move, but he just took a bump, So then Savage hits the elbow, and he answers the count. And the ref restarts the count on Paige. What the fuck's going on? Another elbow drop, and DDP gets up at 9.9. We get a ref bump then. In a last man standing match, we get a ref bump. As DDP reverses a body slam attempt in the Diamond Cutter, which is really cool. And it's referee Nick Patrick, which, by the way, he joins the NWO here in a couple weeks after this. So.
Nothing better than having like a ref in your pocket to make sure you don't ever lose a match.
So they both get up at 9. A low blow from Savage. And let's see, the crowd loses their mind as Sting, quote unquote, attacks Diamond Dallas Page with a bat. The ref counts Page out, and Macho wins. And after the match, referee Nick Patrick tries to protect Page from Savage, and he gets beat up, which is ironic because, again, he's going to be like the heel guy the heel ref for the NWO. And the announcers speculate about whether that was Hulk Hogan dressed up as Sting.
It clearly very much was Hulk Hogan dressed up as Sting.
But Dusty's like, "That's his boots. I thought boots, baby."
I knew it was Hogan. I just didn't want to say anything when I was watching it.
Now, John, what did you think of that match?
I was expecting more out of those two. It's more just, is this just WCW? Do we just like brawl all the time? Like
a lot of brawling, yeah.
Like there's just not many like moves. I want moves.
Yeah, those first couple matches had a lot of moves in them. These last couple matches, not so many moves, you know?
It's like they used them all up in the first like 3 matches, and they're like, "Oh, sorry guys, just punch each other."
Well, I tell you what, believe it or not, guys that, brawled and these main eventer types, they look down upon. I mean, this is just like the shit that goes on today, where the older guys are like, "Oh, you're killing the business doing the flippy flops." That's how they looked at these cruiserweights. That's why they have to bring Mike Tenay in so that the fucking other announcers don't bury the cruiserweights. So,
Like JR does on AEW currently.
right. Oh my God, he's the worst. Okay, well now, John, we're going to move on here to the main event of the evening, and the main event is a non-title steel cage match between Roddy Piper and Hollywood Hulk Hogan. But John, I mean, were you at this point thinking, is Hogan even going to wrestle? I mean, we're wondering the whole night.
Well, no, I was rest assured because JJ, not Abrams, Dalton,
Dylan.
Yeah, he had that paper and he said he's going to wrestle, and I said Eric Bischoff is going to honor that contract, and Hogan is going to wrestle.
Now, one of the things that WCW is famous for is wasting money. And one of the things that they wasted a lot of money on was Michael Buffer. They had him on like retainer, basically. So Michael Buffer would supposedly make $100,000 per appearance, I think.
What?
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe that's inflated. Maybe it's not, though. A lot of people made stupid money when they worked at WCW. Now, if you don't know who Michael Buffer is, he's the better of the two Buffer brothers. I hate his brother, and I want to punch him right in the dick. I hate how his brother struts around the ring, and his catchphrase is, "It's time." Fuck off. He's not nearly as good as his brother. I mean, Michael Buffer, of course, says, "Let's get ready to rumble," which was so popular, they named a movie out of it. Has anyone ever named a movie It's Time?
And they made multiple video games by that name for the Dreamcast.
See?
So
there's no It's Time video game, you fucking prick. I don't like that guy. I hate announcers that dance around and are like, "Look at me." I hate that. Michael Buffer's a good announcer. He just stands there. He says, "Are you ready?" I mean, he's got a great voice. It's nice. So, but he does make way too much money. Now, he says that there are no rules, which is not true. He says, the survivor, if there is one, will be pronounced the winner. That's kind of not what happens in the match, right, John?
No, it's not. But then again, like, I was so confused by this main event that, hey, he might have been right.
And this is typical WCW, where your undercard is fucking spectacular and awesome, and then the main event is like, what is this? So this is a cage match. These two have had cage matches before, and the fact that there's no winner or there's no rules and all that, I mean, that reeks of I don't want to do a job, right? That's what that reeks of. So.
For sure, especially after knowing like the record from earlier that we talked about, like there's no like we'll let you know who the winner is later. That's Piper and Hogan for you.
Well, let's see what happens here. So the cage is lowered as the NWA music plays one more time, John, and Hogan
billionth time.
Hogan makes his way out to the ring alone and without his title belt. Interesting. Tony points out that the cage encloses the ringside area and not just the ring, which is pretty cool. As he does that as the icon, Roddy Piper makes his way to the ring with the belt. So this is fucking weird. It's a cage match that's a non-title, but Roddy Piper has the belt. He's not the champion, and Hogan doesn't have it, and he is.
Do you know how confused I was by this?
I can imagine. What did you think of all this? I mean, what did you think? You were like, this is who? What?
So they start lowering the cage, and I'm like, wait, I thought like WWF invented the Hell in a Cell, but no, WCW was like, we don't want to make a tight cage around this ring because we want to, maybe have some shenanigans later on. So let's free up some extra space on the sides. And I'm like, that's a weird looking cage. And then like I kept thinking, like, isn't Hogan the champion? Like, where's his belt? Like, I thought he was the champ. And then Roddy came out with it, and it was spray painted with the NWO, and I was like, oh, he must have just beat him for it. Like, that makes sense. And then they're like, and Hogan's still the champion. I was like, wait, what is going on?
Yeah, and the promo package that they showed at the beginning didn't tell us any of this shit. And Hogan's bullshit storyline about how he's not going to wrestle didn't help that either. So don't know what's going on, man. So Piper makes his way to the ring, and Hogan looks terrified and runs away from Piper. The match starts, and Hogan gets bit on the ass for trying to climb the cage. Hogan begs for mercy, and Piper pokes his eye and basically just wrestles like a heel. We see the 200th atomic drop of the night as Piper continues to work over Hogan in dominating fashion. Roddy Piper hits a low blow and so many punches. They slam each other's head into the cage, and finally Hogan starts to get some heat. Brother. They both escape the cage, and Tony says, if one of them escapes, it's over.
And they both escaped, and he just keeps going, like, okay.
It's almost like the cage door wasn't supposed to open there. So he also must not, Tony must not be paying attention, because they both made it out. So Hogan has the cage door and the guardrail. He uses the cage door and the guardrail on Piper. And for the fourth or fifth time tonight, a heel tries to leave the ring area, right? This time he's stopped by Sting, ? A man dressed as Sting. And we were like, wait a second. I thought Hogan was Sting, baby. He had the boots on, I swear to God. We don't know what is happening here, because this is the time period where Sting is not wrestling. He's appearing and threatening the NWO. So he doesn't he's kind of like Piper. He doesn't represent NWO, but he is he doesn't represent WCW, but he is WCW, and everyone sees where this is headed, And basically, Piper's just a stand-in for Sting so that they can do this story, and eventually Sting can wrestle Hogan, which happens later on in the year. So Hogan hits Piper with the title belt and calls Piper a victim. He says he's going to make him a victim. He slams Roddy's head into the mat and hits 2 leg drops. Brother. This match is really boring, because when they're fighting, even in the parts where they're fighting on the top of the cage, they're just going to slowly climb back down. They're not going to jump off the cage. No one's jumping off the cage in this match, right?
You would think.
So this is so weird. So he slams Roddy, he hits the 2 leg drops, and referee Randy Anderson runs in to count a pin? ? What? I thought there was no rules. But then Piper kicks out, and my next note says LOL WCW. And this is where it gets crazy. So Macho Man Randy Savage runs out. He climbs the cage. This is executed very clumsily by Randy, because he's jumping off the cage to do elbow drop, right? So someone's going to jump off the cage, but it ain't going to be the people in the match. So Randy jumps off the cage, and he accidentally hits Hogan with the axe handle off of the cage, allowing Piper to slap on a sleeper. Hogan's out, and Piper wins. But the NWO attack Piper. There's a Sting fighting NWO guys, but NWO dominate and cuff Piper to the cage. So now we got handcuffs, and there's all these stings appearing throughout, right?
Yeah, there's 3 or 4 Stings at this point, and they all just keep looking at each other like, are you Sting? And no, are you Sting? I bet you're Sting. I'm the real Sting.
So weird.
Will the real Sting please stand up?
Yes, please. So there's a Sting fighting NWO guys, but the NWO dominate, and they cuff Piper to the cage. The crowd chants for Sting as Hogan beats Piper with a Sting mask on. What? God! So then the weirdest thing happens. A Plant Sting fan expertly climbs the cage, and the NWO beat him up with worked punches. And the announcers are like, oh my God, they're beating up a fan. Hogan is beating a fan up. Oh, the heat. Doug Dillinger gets things under control as we go off the air. John, what'd you think of the main event?
I thought it was so muddy and clumsy and ridiculously over the top that I'm like, this is the wrestling I don't like.
You gotta wade through some of the bullshit to get to the good stuff, or in this case, wade through the good stuff to get to the bullshit. What did you think of 1997's WCW Slim Jim Halloween Havoc, John?
I'm going to say that I missed a few good matches by not watching WCW, and but I also missed a lot of headaches. I saved myself from headaches, I think, from not tuning in to WCW as much as I did WWE. Not to say WWE was much better, but man, I don't remember this like clunky of like an upper card on any of those shows.
You remember Great Khali? Remember him?
Yeah.
WWF did this bullshit too. So
yeah, but that's like after they buried WCW, and so they brought on some of those wrestlers in their roster, and like it just like caused an effect, like it just rubbed off onto them. I think
that's why the Great Khali sucked, was because of WCW.
Yeah, because Kidman was walking around in that same locker room, and just rubbed off on him.
John, I got something very serious to tell you, okay? And I don't want to, I know we don't do serious on the show, but I am really having a hard time this past couple weeks. It's just coming to the point. It was March was the last time we went to a live wrestling show. If you know me, that's my life. That's what I do. I go to wrestling shows, and I haven't been able to do it. And, and to be honest, some of these shows that we're doing, that we're, recording, they're just not, it's not the same. You know that. We all know that, We're just trying to give people stuff to listen to. When I watched this show for the first time in months, I got that feeling. I got that feeling of love, that feeling of this thing that makes me happy, that is pro wrestling. And it hadn't happened in a long time, and that's one of the reasons why I watched the show so many times, is because watching Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio just do their magic, watching Ric Flair go flying across the ring because Kurt Hennig looked at him, it was
he's got the force, man.
This is my shit, and I was just so happy. It gave me that feeling. I couldn't stop watching it, and I just really want to thank you for doing this with me, because if it weren't for you, and if it weren't for the other folks and everything, this podcast probably would have ended a long time ago, or it would just be me whining, and no one wants to hear that. So I just wanted to say, if you want to get a little bit of that good feeling again, I think this show has some of that. I think it has it in there, and it has a lot of bullshit too, but we just told you all the good stuff. So go back and watch some of it, and for a second, forget about COVID-19, and forget about, the world burning, just for a second, and get to see, some of the most amazing stuff to ever happen inside a ring, and that's just how I feel about this. So I really appreciate you letting me do this.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me on and suggesting it, because otherwise I would have probably never seen that Rey Mysterio Eddie Guerrero match, because I'm not one that seek out just singles matches. So it was fun to finally get a chance to see that one.
Do you only seek out 6-man tags? Is that what it is?
Yes, I'm a big 6-man tag kind of guy. Speaking of 6-man tags, you say this show rejuvenates for you. I was thinking while you were saying that, I was like, what show for me was one of those I could probably watch it all the time, and I think it is SummerSlam 2000, where
okay.
I think the main event was Triple H versus Kurt Angle, but it had Undertaker, American Badass Taker versus Kane, where Undertaker rips off Kane's mask. It has, I believe it has Shane McMahon versus Steve Blackman. And then in the hardcore title match, it's got the first TLC match. That one for me, growing up, was holy shit, this is professional wrestling.
Dude, those TLC matches are just outstanding. I don't give a fuck what other matches happen in the world. Those TLC matches are some of the best things that have ever happened in wrestling, period. They are fantastic. If you've never seen those, one of them's at WrestleMania, one of them's at that SummerSlam, and I think the third one's at another WrestleMania, maybe. I'm not sure. But
so technically, the WrestleMania 2001 is a triangle ladder match. Mick Foley introduces the TLC match at SummerSlam 2000, and then TLC 2 is at WrestleMania 17, and then TLC 3 was on a random episode of SmackDown, and it was a 4-team one, and then I think the fourth one was like a random Raw roulette. I'm a big TLC guy, so like I'm really nerdy when it comes to like when those matches happened.
Those are a lot of fun, man. And, it's always good to go back and watch some old wrestling, And so hopefully soon, maybe as soon as next week, we'll be talking about some new wrestling. I'm interested to see what happens with a few things before we make some commitments. But, live wrestling will be returning to the Road Home from Wrestling podcast very soon. And I can't wait because, goddamn, this stuff's fun. But, man, it's just not the same, right?
Right. I can't wait to be in a car with you chatting about it on the way to and from shows.
It's a whole different thing. So, I'm looking forward to it too. Well, you guys can follow John on Twitter and Instagram and Snap a Poop and Eat Poop at JHat05. You can follow me at Jerusalem Tweets on Twitter, and you can follow our show at the Road Home FW on all of the social media sites. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Sayonara.